In today's video, I'm going to be sharing how we collected $77 million with 5 funnels and the entire data and tracking structure behind it. Normally, you'd have to pay someone on your team or a service provider tens of thousands of dollars to figure this out and then implement it, and I'm going to give it to you completely for free, all right? Last year, we did $30 million in this info coaching business. Like I said, over $77 million in total cash collected, and I'm not selling you anything. Everything on the channel is to share what did work for us, what did not work for us, and what we are actively doing to scale this business to over $100 million a year, all with the goal of finding top talent for our company, opportunities, and networking with cool people building cool stuff, all right? So let's get into it. It's going to be a little more advanced, a little more technical. Stick with me, okay? This is going to be super helpful for how you think about this. So we're going to have properties, we're going to have funnel stages, we're going to have funnel IDs, and we're going to have some sub-properties. And I'll get into what those mean, but let's go through the funnels, okay? So I say 5 funnels as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Now, what these are, and I'll kind of bounce back and forth for you, and I've explained this in other videos, but trust me, you want to stick through this. So for here, you're going to have your opt-in VSL funnels. So an opt-in VSL funnel is name, phone number, email. For us, it's just name and email. We have not had it where it pays off the phone. Then they go to a VSL page, okay? They watch a VSL, the button pops up, cool. They then go and apply. There's a ton of automations that occur between all of these. If someone opts in but doesn't apply, so if someone applies but doesn't book a call, etc., okay? So they're going to go from an opt-in to a VSL, get a bunch of emails, push back over here to an application, and they're going to apply. When they apply, they are then routed through this router based on their application questions. They get DQ'd or they get quality, okay? So they come in as quality, and then a portion of them get DQ'd based on financial qualifiers or things that do not fit for your ICP, okay? You are then only going to pixel these pages. You're not going to pixel any of this stuff, all right? So then what's going to happen is they're going to book a call. They're going to then land on a success page that has all the goodies on it, and I can go through these in other videos where it breaks down what's on there, but essentially you're going to have objection blocks. You're going to have your pre-frame video. You might have some homework they do. You have all that kind of stuff, and then they're booked. Now, they're technically booked over here with a closer, so I could actually change this to a closer call over here. But what's actually happening is then a setter is calling and confirming them. This is newer to us. And the funny part about this, I say 77, 71 million of it was this right here. This one right here. So hopefully you can see my mouse on here, but it was essentially through here, and we didn't even have a routing. So it actually just went through this. So it was one line through, no setter whatsoever, and straight to a closer, okay? Ton of volume, ton of money left on the table. Like not high, but low to mid tens of millions of dollars were left on the table because we didn't have setters, because we didn't have offer, all these other things, okay? So that's the core one, all right? Comes through a closer, setter confirms the call, they get on with the closer, and then they close. Now, why I have 3 of these right here, and why there's actually 6 of them, but right now we're only running 3 of them because the other 3 are in queue and edits and all that kind of stuff. And the reason these are 2 different colors is because these are different brand faces. So right here, you have brand face 1, and down here I use the examples of Mary, right? So Mary is in this VSL, and she is talking about, in these examples, what did I use? Thyroid, okay? So it's different messaging. So on your opt-in page, your ads over here, you have different ads. So actually, you should probably have 3 of these for you because there's 3 different campaigns, 3 different whatever you want to structure ads, however you're going to say it. But essentially 3 different campaigns where you have brand face 1 that's talking all about, what did I say? Thyroid? Yeah, thyroid. As a messaging, I'm just using examples here. This is not our actual. So they come into here messaging with brand face 1 and thyroid. It's in the ad, it's in the opt-in page, it's in the VSL, and then they go to the application. Also, why we start to get into all these properties, why this is important, and I'm kind of all over the place, but trust me, because these have different automations because they need to come from a different brand face. So you need different tracking, you need different triggers, you need different properties, you need all that kind of stuff that exists because there's different messaging around the different messaging and also from the different people, different brand faces, okay? So we are trying to diversify brand faces because that is important for us as we scale into the future, both for market resonance as well as potential exit in the future. All right, so this will be one messaging pocket. This is another messaging pocket with the same brand face. So this one's around thyroid. This one's around muscles. Okay, let's just say. So you're going to have these. These need different tracking. They need different copywriting. They need different things, both on the page, in the ad, on the page, in the VSL, in the email follow-up, and all of that. Okay. Now for us, we're standardizing and centralizing it around application. Now, this one up here in the purple is the first time us launching a full setup over here for brand face 2. All right, so brand face 2 could be talking about the same messaging, could be their own story, could be whatever, and that's where you have different messaging, different funnels, different automations, different email, all the stuff, okay, and different ads. So you have campaign 1 runs to this, campaign 2 runs to this, campaign 3 runs to this, automation 1, automation 2, automation 3. They all are pushing to this application, okay? They go through, same flow in here. all this DQ stuff just doesn't fire the pixel, but does the exact same flow. Because currently, like if we were booked at capacity, we would just turn this off, and that's what this is right here. So we have an automatic, this is technically a 2-stage router, but you have router number 1, and then router number 2 checks the active calendar spots. And if there is X amount, whatever, call it 10% only remaining on the calendars, it'll just turn them off from being able to book if they're DQ'd. It'll always let through the booking one or the quality ones, and it'll push them to this bridge page. Okay. And then we'll get into that. It goes over here to low ticket. But DTA is extremely common, extremely. If you follow me on X, I just asked for a good script on this because we run these, but not as effectively as a lot of other people do, because this kind of like was our game for a long time, and we haven't adapted fully. DTA page, this is going to be your headline, VSL application. Some people wait to pop the application, whatever. Now, of this, you could have, right now we actually have 3 of these. 1 is only winning, and 1 is the core one, so I only have 1 showing here. But exact same where you could have 1, 2, 3 right here. You could have different brand face versions. So I could have 3 different colors here, 3 different DTA pages, 3 different campaigns. The ad is brand face, the VSL on the page is brand face, and the messaging and the copywriting on page, and then comes over here. Now, why this is different is because it doesn't have an automation that passes them from here to here. Okay? So once in our current flow, and this is our current adaptation of this, so this may change, and I will update you if it changes. But in current flow, once they get past the application stage, it pushes over into brand face 1, co-founder, all the language that's coming from the company or the main brand face of the company, the founder of the method, the whatever. And then these are brand faces only in communication here, pushing them from opt, for essentially lead, to application. Okay? Now, DTA, same thing, comes over here, runs through the same router. Now, low ticket, a little bit different. Low ticket is we're actually selling something that is low ticket. So it's under $100. We send them to a sales page. In current state, it's brand face 1 campaign, brand face 1 ads, brand face 1 is on here, and then, I'm sorry. So they go from a sales page, they then go to a checkout page, they put in name, email here, X amount % complete from here to here. They then check out here, land on here, and then instead they are doing a booking with a setter. So they're booking in a call that's like a quick start call, implementation call, whatever. They'll book that in with the setter, then the setter triages them or sets them up, sets them with a closer, and that's the flow of this one. This one has the best stats in terms of the ascension, the show rate, the set rate, the whatever. The economics are great, except right now ours is breaking right here. So because we can't scale it to enough units, the math doesn't back out, because let's say you get 3% or whatever that come through, or 5% or 10% or whatever, you'd have to sell, let's use 3 as an example. If you got 100 new units a day on average, you would only get 3 of these back-end purchases, which is just not enough volume. Like we need tens and tens and tens of these back-end purchases. So every time you try and scale this, it breaks. Now, 7.5 minutes in, how I break these down in properties. And so this is, a lot of this was initially happening. Then we have a marketing tech that's a fucking badass that just came in that is helping us structure this. And we kind of like bounce back and forth with some 10 million plus a month guys that do info and how they do this with multi-funnel. So what we're going to have here is your core properties that exist at a contact level. And this is where I start to get a little more advanced. So just like stick with me. You're going to have your low ticket opt date. You're going to have your low ticket purchase date. So when this triggers is an opt-in. When this triggers, technically between here and here, is a purchase. Setter call date is then this when it comes in here. This is the only one that's getting a direct setter booking. Okay, so this is going directly onto calendar versus these, they're calling the bookings that are with the closer. So these actually aren't setter calls. I should have put better arrows and stuff, but we're moving quick today. All right, I got somewhere to be. So VSL opt-in date is going to be any of these 3. Application date is anytime someone fires on this or this, right? So here. And now you see where I'm starting to run into an issue where did they apply from, okay? And which opt-in did they come through? Sales call booked date, so the day that they clicked the button of when they booked the call, all right? Sales call date, which is the within 48 hours, what date and time, whatever, they actually booked the call for. And then back-end purchase date is going to be this, okay? Now, these all exist at a contact level because a person can do any of these actions. They can do all of these actions, all right? Now, where this became an issue is where I'm saying here is like VSL opt-in date. Which VSL opt-in did they come through, okay? And what you could do is stack these properties up like crazy where it's like, okay, they came over here, have 9 different VSL opt-in fields and different dates. But the action of what they're doing is still an opt-in. It just is different in terms of which funnel they came through. So we're like, how do we make this more dynamic, okay? The next layer, this has already existed as well, is having funnel stages. So the other thing that's going to happen is someone is going to come into here, they're going to opt in, but they're not going to apply, okay? And then they're going to exist in your email sequence, they're going to exist, and they're going to see an ad 14 days from now, and they're going to re-opt in. Now, what you want to happen when someone re-opts in is them to get the email automations, again, that occur between opt-in, lead, and application. Now, in order to do so, you're looking to see if this is known. We use HubSpot for this, but like a workflow, and it's like, okay, is this known? And then can this re-enroll them? Yes. But there's nothing directly, there's like a lot of ways to do this. So someone else is going to listen to this and be like, oh, you're an idiot, and there's like 90 other ways to do this. This is how we do it, okay? And it works. So on this, what we'll do is when someone comes in with a VSL opt-in date, we'll mark them in a funnel stage property that's like a drop-down. That'll mark them as a lead. When they apply, an application. When they book, a book. When they purchase, purchase. Now, what happens, though, is after X amount of days, we have these in like this queue that if they haven't moved from this stage to this stage, or if they haven't moved in X amount of time, it will clear this out so it doesn't exist. Then all of your workflows are truly triggered off this instead with lead and app. So like, are they lead but no app? They get the lead, no app. Are they app but no booking? They get the app, no book. And it's based on this. This is for storage of the data of what happened. You technically store the records even when they overwrite. This is for where they're actually at and what triggers the automations. Now, you could say the same thing as the issue here where, okay, yeah, they're a lead, but what type of lead? Where did they come from? And this is the first iteration that we've had this as a problem because we initially had this standalone, and this standalone. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. We were actually technically running these two with the same brand face, but two different messaging funnels. And we didn't even know directly like the stats on it other than in Facebook knowing ROAS, knowing like rough metrics and kind of doing division. But we didn't have like proper reporting on it, which is my fault. And also we were like in lieu of doing a lot of things, but still my fault. Okay. Now I have a marketing tech that's a badass, like I said, and he is crushing it and doing this for us. Okay. So he is building this out all on his own, which is amazing and saves my life. So now we have funnel types. How we're doing our naming conventions, funnel IDs. How we're doing our naming conventions is type 2, brand face, then message. So as an example, you'll have VSL opt-in, Mary, thyroid. Okay. So it's a VSL opt-in funnel. Mary's the brand face, and then the messaging is around thyroid as the example I used. Okay. So then up here, so in these examples, right? Mary, thyroid, and then Mary, muscles, that would be like this and this. Okay. So they're going to get a funnel ID when they come through that funnel, and it's technically going to show like last attribution. So if they went through this one, 2 weeks later, they then came through this one. The most recent one that's going to show before purchase is the last one they went through, but you have storage and record of all of them. Because then you start to get in this whole multi-attribution and like omnipresence and all of this. And this isn't even touching ad tracking because ad tracking can all happen in Hyros or custom, also inside the CRM on server side or Hyros or whatever. But what we're trying to solve for here is inside our own data. Where did they exist within the funnels? Not as much tracking back to the ad. I mean, yes to the ad, but like, again, two different systems and all we're talking about is ours right now. So with that, you then have VSL opt-in Amanda, for example, but she could be talking about the same messaging. Okay. So that's why we're trying to name it in these conventions. So Amanda, muscles, Mary had a muscles version that was crushing, but now we have a different brand face that might get a different lift because it has better ads or better market resonance with the person. And also just diversification, also just having diversification. And I'm a huge fan. The reason we did 71 million is because we said, let's just hammer one of these and it was dumb and it broke, but like we should have really just had like a second or a third warming up and we didn't have any. Now we're kind of going a little too far in the other direction, in my opinion, but we're trying to figure out what works, where we can get costs down and where the quality is up. Okay. Now, you have all these that come through, and then, for example, low ticket. We have low ticket offers, and then, right, it didn't really know what to put here, so we put purchase, and then the brand face, and then what the low ticket is. Now, up here, this is the only kind of wonky one of this, because right now, ours is actually currently named the product name, because I didn't have the, sight into the future to realize that we were going to do it in this way. So we will have to change these as we kind of scale into this into the future, but the same flow will work. And then it also will get its own funnel stage once there's two of them. Okay. Because it's not an issue right now. Because if someone opts in and then purchase, they don't really come back and opt in again and need the contextual flow. And there's so many automations and like now setter touch points and buckets and stuff that these all get hit. And we have really good completion rates between these. So it's like, you're not really squeezing or like missing too much that exists, but that is definitely room for opportunity is on these right now. Now, all that to say, you could run any number you want now. So you can see on, so what you do is you could go funnel stage and then one last thing, sorry. The automations then will exist that you'll have like lead but no app, okay? So like lead but no app for this, and you'll also include for Mary Thyroid. And then in that one, it'll be messaging from Mary around thyroid pushing to application. You'll then have the same thing here, funnel stage, also with funnel ID, Mary Muscles, and it'll be from Mary talking about muscles in the copywriting, pushing to the application. Same thing with Amanda, pushing in the right direction. Okay. Now, again, I will be the first to say this is like real overkill right now, but what we're foundationally setting up for is like that direction. Okay. So like right now we're still like having our, essentially the current bottleneck is in this realm more so than it is in the marketing realm. And then also if we were to just say it's on marketing, it's in this realm because if they could nail this and get to 100 units a day or hundreds of units a day, this has the absolute best conversion. This has the best, economics, not the best conversion. Well, I guess kind of both, but this is the best economics, but it breaks when we get over X units. So if we crack this flow, having buyers on the phone instead of leads, which these are all leads, that's like where we see most people get to at scale, whether that's a 1 or 2K product or that's a low ticket. It just creates a different ecosystem when the closers and the setters are talking to people who purchase something and have that much higher intent than somebody who is just a lead. Okay. Now coming down to these, I basically just said, so there's different funnel stages, different flows, there's all that kind of stuff that are triggered by all these. Now, you will be able to see by funnel, now on the reporting side of things, and I probably should have visualized this for you, but on the reporting side of things, you'll now be able to see if you apply just this, for example, on top, what is the count of lead, app, sales call, purchase, and you get percentages as they flow down, okay? So now you'll be able to see that for whatever reason, and then you'll be able to isolate and find out why. These two funnels next to each other, you'll see your completion rates through, and one has a 2% back out purchase, and the other one has a 12% back out purchase. And on the because on the VSL page, one has 20% of people that are leads go to an application, and the other one has 6. So it's like the VSL sucks because the opt-in rate's the same, but the VSL sucks, right? And like you'll be able to isolate those when seeing this. And this is like basics 101. But when you're running multiple of these, the stats can like really blend and come through one, then another, then another. So this is an ability to isolate the most recent place that they were and see the stats on them and then how they backed out. You can also run stuff that's like multi-presence, that like they hit this funnel, then this funnel and did all that stuff. But like you still need the data. The data is the number one thing here that you have structured and that you have stored because you can't run anything if you don't have it. All right. Now, sub-properties, this is the next stage of this that I'm going to get built out the team's going to build out. The other pieces are we already technically store these things, but they don't get stored as themselves. So what I mean by that is an app will come in and it'll be qualified or disqualified. There's not currently a like property, and I'm calling them sub-properties, but that's not what they're actually. They're like helper columns almost. But what currently happens is an app will come through. It'll get assigned an application date. They'll get moved to the funnel stage app. They will have come through whatever one of these funnels that has an application, anything but this last one. We'll have all that data, but is it quality or not quality? We know that because we look at then the application response field and we can see if it is or if it isn't. And that already does all the routing and stuff in the background, but it doesn't have its own field. So like it needs its own field or it needs its own helper column or it needs some like key that does lookups. Same thing with disqualified because I want to be able to know opt-in, application, split. I want to know how many of those applications were then quality or DQ because that feeds back to ads, that feeds back to the understanding of the funnel and how it performed. Because if all of a sudden it's getting way more applications, but the conversion rate's terrible, I break it down and I can see that one has 90 quality and 90 DQ and 10 normal quality. That's why. Because how the people are coming in, because of the messaging, because of the ads, because of the targeting, whatever, you can like back into this. So you just need as many data points as possible to see where things break and then see where the throughput is breaking through those and on what stage, or it could be the whole overall thing because of the front, right? So that same thing with booking. Booking can then translate over as qualified or disqualified. That truly comes from the app though. It's like if that person is already here. So this one's kind of like, I don't say null, but like kind of null because the person at this level will have a qualified or disqualified helper column. So really this is one and the same. Right? So all you really need is qualified and disqualified, which come from the application questions as a helper column. And the big one, this currently exists at the deal level. So at the deal level, when they move the stages, they'll mark them as no-show, cancel, hot listing, long-term nurture, closed, or like disqualified, closed, lost, like had no financial thing, or normal closed, lost, meaning they should have closed and they didn't. And a couple other ones in between there, but let's just use those. Showed and no-showed is massive. And why I say that, it's just massive. So like, the industry standard, like even ours right now is like the lowest it's been in a very long time. And we added a ton of stuff again and did the thing I didn't want to do, but we did anyway. And it's like really breaking things. And I need to know what the source of those is. So like which funnel they came through, which flow they came through, at what times, whatever, that it worked. And something that you makes sense when you hear about it, or you hear it. But for example, this is notoriously known for having low show rates. Because the consumption is so much lower, because the friction is so much lower. So someone will come into here, they'll just literally watch VSL for a couple minutes instead of the whole 25-minute VSL. They will apply, fill out an application, they'll land on a booking thing, they'll be like, cool, book, and then they'll just be like, forget about it, whatever. They spent 3 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever, to do this process instead of coming into here intentionally, watching the VSL, getting to the point where either they got to the VSL and the application popped, or they consumed emails and got pushed back to do all this stuff before they could apply, before they could book, right? So just that alone, and there's edge cases to all this. There's people who crush these on DTA and crush it with show rates and use iMessage and, double dot and like do all this kind of stuff. Just in like a general sense though, that one shows more no-shows. So I need to know these things and then see them on a plot across of lead, app, qualified, app, disqualified, booking, qualified, disqualified, which again, you already have. And then also booking showed, booking no showed, and then come back up here to the backend purchased. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was helpful. But that's essentially how we're running things right now with these structures, and we'll see how it goes. We just got some like really dedicated reporting. It's hot on my brain right now about this because I'm trying to like pinpoint where we should lean into buckets, where we have a higher cash collected per booking on which one, because that's the whole game, right? In terms of the front, what it really is, cost per purchase. But when you need to optimize around volume and make sure calendars are full, you need to optimize in the one you can control, which sometimes the earlier metric, which is the booking, is a little bit cleaner. So that's what we're doing now. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. I have some bangers this week coming up, so we have some cool people, so it won't just be me on here yapping. And then I travel this weekend, so I'm going to see how I'm going to be able to keep doing this. I was going to stop at 100, but I'm at 100 and, 2, 3 or something like that, and I don't know. I'm having fun. So www.ryanclogg.com/doc. You'll see all the videos that are on here. I'm pretty bad at updating this. I think I'm going to turn this into audio podcast. A lot of people ask for that. So I don't know if this one is an example, but like at least the group videos I do. Comment below on this if you made it to the end. 21, comment 21 if you made it to the end. Leave some just fun comments. I enjoy it. And then, hit me up on Instagram, hit me on X. And if you need anything, just be clear in your request. If you have a question, if you have whatever, give me data, do all that kind of stuff, because that makes it a lot easier for me to help and respond and refer if you need a media buyer or a sales agency or whatever, because I have some people for that, or if I can just see something clear in the data and you can change it up. So appreciate you guys as always, and I'll talk soon.